What's going on, guys? It's your boy Motorman Dan, and today we're going to be talking about Bug Heroes Tower Defense. We're finally out of the Balloons series, moving on to other tower defenses. So, Bug Heroes for towers, I gave it a 10 out of 10. You can customize your own upgrades, which is a really cool feature of this game. And the placements, it's on a grid-based thing, and it's relatively free. The towers all kind of serve purposes, but with the unique upgrades, maybe there can be a little bit of overlap, and you can really specialize into one tower, or you can just generically do a bunch of different towers. And they all have their own effectiveness and stuff. So I think the towers are really, really good in this game. So 10 out of 10. For enemies, I give it a 9 out of 10. You do have a repository of enemy information, and you do have some enemy control, but you don't have necessarily like a ton of routing, but you do have enemies that do pretty much everything across the board. Jump over stuff, target you as the player, you know, target your food stash, which is what you're trying to defend. It's pretty easy to tell the difference between enemies. It's not bad to tell the difference from enemies. But it's not super clear because a lot of them have the same, like, very similar style. Like, they're all wearing helmets and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And then enemies do have like promotion enemies as well, promoted enemies as well, which are larger, harder to kill and stuff like that. So, or squash, because they're all bugs. But yeah, enemies definitely 9 out of 10. Progression 10 out of 10. I really like the progression in this game. You start with these keys that you can unlock different rooms and houses, and you go through and you can pick your next spot that you're going to go to. So if you, it's a little bit limited because you can really only unlock one, maybe two other spots depending on where you want to go. But then those give you keys back that you spent basically, so then you can go elsewhere. So, you know, the progression is pretty nice. And having different locations brings, you know, different challenges on different kinds of maps and stuff. So far, what I've noticed is maps they're different from each other if they're in an area like in a house, but then the ones that are inside the same house are similar. Ones that are inside a different house are similar to each other for that house, basically. So I really like the progression in this game. I think it was done really well. For tower defense standards, therefore 10 out of 10. Special enemies 10 out of 10. Like I said, there's enemies that target you, there's enemies that do all sorts of stuff in this game, and the bosses are also really cool, and the bosses are modifiable. You can modify them to have more reward after you beat them as well, which is cool. You really don't see that in many tower defense games, to be honest. So that'd be cool if other tower defense games implemented some sort of ability for you to, whenever the boss is summoned, for you to make the boss harder for more rewards. Next we have resource. Resource generation is interesting. You get resource from killing enemies like normal, which is good. You also get these random crates that drop for you to get resource. You can pick up resource. You have this little guy that walks around and picks up these little scraps as well, these little nuts and bolts, and that counts as a resource collection. So that's a little strange. As far as resource collecting, generating towers, it doesn't seem like there's any towers that make enemies worth anymore. And there's only one investment tower that I've seen so far. So I don't know if there's a lot of ways to invest for higher yield of return. So I'm only going to give it a 7 out of 10 for resource. Still pretty good, but it could be. There probably could be some upgrades that maybe generate extra, you know, currency on kill or something like that for a tower upgrade or something. The micro to pacing ratio, I give that a 10 out of 10 because every time you go to place a tower, it pauses the game. And your abilities pause, like some of them will pause the game as well whenever you're going to use them, so you can really kind of line it up and everything, which is really awesome. It makes it to where it's not as taxing on somebody who has maybe a lower APM, and I think the game really it caters to lower APM players as well as high APM players. So I think the micro to pacing ratio is really well done, so I give that a 10 out of 10. The macro play, you do have some special abilities that you get a limited amount of, and you unlock them as you play. I don't know if it's random. I think it is random because it's like based on your progression through the account level as you unlock new things. And your characters do also have abilities. They're on a cooldown. But there's nothing you can do to the wave that's coming out. You can't buff it. You can't change it or anything. I don't know. 7 out of 10 might be a little bit low, but I just gut feeling, just because you can't use a ton of abilities all the time, I have to give that a 7 out of 10. Map design, 8 out of 10. The map designs are great. Some of them seem a little bit repetitive, like it's short from the spawn point to the food stash, and it's one corner. I've seen that a few times. Similar map styles, but one's a little bit bigger than the other. Or the open maps, which is a little problematic with those, is whenever you go into the grid mode to build your tower, it lags the game a lot. So I think the map design could use a little tweaking. Could use a little bit more, maybe some uniqueness within a house as you unlock the different rooms. The rooms could maybe use a little bit more uniqueness. But overall, I'd say map design's an 8 out of 10. Strategy versus combat. In this game, it's really all about your towers. You do have your heroes, and you can buff your heroes with upgrades and probably get pretty far with using primarily heroes. But because you oftentimes will find yourself walking away from your food stash, your towers are extremely important to have and extremely important to do the damage. So this game encourages you to build for strategy over building for combat, but the option is still there. So strategy to combat ratio, 9 out of 10. Replayability, 10 out of 10. Yeah, they have an endless mode, so that's great. And they have these challenges, and then you have an account level as well as your normal progression throughout the game, which can bring people coming back. And then they have periods of time that reset for you to get bonuses as you play the game, and it's just a reoccurring thing, and you can kind of choose what it is as well. So you could say it's the age of the ant or the age of the moth or whatever, and then as you play with that character, it will then unlock more rewards for you as you play. So you can collect more rewards just by playing during a season or something. So replayability in this game, I think, is a 10 out of 10. The price is a 5 out of 10. It is $10, $9.99, and I think that is the exact right price. I would maybe like to see it for $8.99, possibly. But it's not necessarily a good deal. I think it's the right deal. If it was a good deal, it would be higher. If it was a bad deal, it would be lower. I think it's the right deal. Or if it was a good deal, it'd be higher. So the bonus points for 5 points on price, 5 out of 10. Which brings the total to Bug Heroes Tower Defense to 95 out of 100, putting Bug Heroes Tower Defense on how tower defensey it is up in the S tier. That being said, guys, let me know what you think about this game. Let me know in the comments below. And if you like the video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you on the flip side. Deuces.